about sustainability.
This rehoming centre at Roden last received any major capital expenditure perhaps 20 years ago. And over that time, in the past 20 years, Dogs Trust has been involved in perhaps 15 rehoming centre new construction projects or redevelopment of existing rehoming centres. And so we've invested approximately £40 million over that time in improving animal welfare standards across those rehoming centre developments. What we found in the last 3 or 4 years perhaps is that whilst we had made significant advances in the improvement in animal welfare and the animal housing and stress reduction techniques, we had found that our buildings were becoming increasingly consumptive in terms of energy. Now the charity as a whole was spending, and certainly at the moment is spending, around about £500,000 a year on energy bills. Now that's £500,000 of expenditure which we, as things stand, we can't avoid for heating, lighting and ventilation for our network of rehoming centres around the country. It's an awful lot of money, and if we felt that if we could significantly reduce our energy consumption costs, then of course that's money that could be redirected towards hands-on animal care. So we needed some appropriate advices for the types of structure and types of heating and ventilation and cooling strategies that were appropriate for those two different extremes of occupancy, if you like. And we were very much steered down the route of looking at a style of fabric design called passive house standards. Now that's a commonly used structural design technique as we have learnt in other parts of Western Europe, not a particularly common form of construction in the UK, but it focuses very much on exemplary super insulation, air tightness and maximising the use of natural ventilation, lighting and heating and cooling. And so that seemed entirely appropriate and entirely in tune with the type of occupation that our rehoming centres demand. With a helping hand through a BREEAM consultant, a BREEAM assessor who would steer us through the BREEAM certification as well as the improvements in specifications and passive house standards of construction, we have delivered a building where the energy demand for this building, rather than it being something like 400 kilowatt hours per square metre per year, which is what our other recent rehoming centre developments were burning up, this one we expect, when we get all of our energy consumption stats over the course of the next 6 months, we expect that the energy consumption of this building will be far, far lower, something like 150 kilowatt hours per square metre per year, which is a huge improvement.
Always delighted to come to a new demonstration project, and for constructing excellence everything we do is evidence-based. So demonstration projects are a key part of that evidence collection. We've worked with probably approaching 600 projects in the life of the demonstration programme. This is one of the most recent ones, and these projects really show the benefits of working in the way that Constructing Excellence outlines the Constructing Excellence agenda. Now, the two key aspects of this project for us are collaborative working and sustainability. And the most important thing for us is that we don't think you can do sustainability as well if you don't do the collaborative working. It's that early involvement of supply chain partners, getting the right people around the table to impact on decisions on design and buildability that creates the opportunity for maximising sustainability performance. So we would commend this project to everybody.
Well, basically the client's needs were to produce a building which reduced significantly their energy costs. Based on previous experience at other centres, their energy costs were increasing annually, not least because energy prices were going up, but because of the way the buildings had been designed. they didn't take into any account maximising the potential for reducing heat losses in the building, and that's where really I saw our role: reduce the heat losses through the structure and through the passage of air out of the building, i.e. air tightness, and design the building so it took maximum advantage of the natural environments. First of all, I had to familiarise myself with the principles of low energy design, which is something that was new to me. I liked the idea of the passive house system in Germany, which is basically to create buildings which need very little energy to operate them. And with a firm called Inbuilt, who are sustainability consultants, we explored the design which is known as passive house design from Germany, whereby buildings are designed to have minimal energy input to make them work and to maximise the heat retention capabilities of the structure. And so that appealed to me because it seemed eminently sensible to design a building that didn't need energy to function. And so, or rather it needed the minimum energy to function. All buildings have to have some energy, lighting, pumps and that kind of thing. But the one thing that you can build into a building is insulation. And so if you can maximise economically the amount of insulation that you put into the structure and minimise the air losses from that, then you are completely maximising the potential for retaining heat in that building. And that to me seemed an eminently sensible way forward. And that's how we design these buildings, to be airtight and to be super insulated.
No, the only reason you know it's here is because the rest of the ground's all flat everywhere, isn't it, round here?
Well, from my point of view and from McPhillips' point of view, we got a great deal out of collaborative working partnership, and to be brought in very, very early and to be part of the design team so that we could bring our expertise to the team, and made it easier for ourselves when we actually started the construction process, because we had been part of the design, as it were, and we had an input into the best methodologies, the constructing of the building. The company's got an ethos that they have they put a lot of time and effort into the supply chain and the management of the supply chain. And that, when we actually get to the construction processes, makes it a lot easier on site, because one, you know the people you're dealing with, two, you know what the expectations are and they know what the expectations are of them, and thirdly, the processes and all the tasks within the processes of constructing buildings such as this, it makes it a lot easier when you're actually on site. That every design team member had bought into the project. We were all going down the same route. We all knew what was expected of each other member of the design team. We were very fortunate and privileged to be part of that design team and to have input into the actual design of the structures. I think the first thing for the construction team was to understand and realise what we were trying to achieve, and understand the sustainability complexities of what was going into the project. We had to give special consideration as regards to the ethos of the sustainability items within the project. The air permeability was one case in point, where a lot of time and effort had to go in to organising the workforce, and organising the workforce to actually take ownership of their responsibilities to produce air permeability of as low as 1.
So you don't, there's no treatment on it, you don't need
It's a very satisfying feeling to know that you've designed something, and at my stage of my career, to find a new avenue, if you like, a new avenue of design is very exciting. And so purposeful, because not only are we saving money for the client, we are reducing slowly and in small, maybe small parcels, reducing the amount of energy that is being used in the country.
Well, from my personal point of view, the summing up of this project was to be part of the design team and the collaborative working nature of the project. It was a pleasure to be part of that team, and the results speak for itself.
It's a little bit early for us to burrow into the precise energy consumption statistics. They're all being recorded. We have an building management system as part of the building services, the simpler, more streamlined building services installation here, but we have a building management system that is constantly recording the energy demand and the energy consumption of all elements of the building and of the rehoming centre. So we will be able to slowly build up a picture of that consumption. But for the time being, bear in mind we've only just gone into the cold season. For the time being, what we are finding is through the late summer and through the autumn, in the last 6 months of our experience of this building in use, is that the mass insulation, which is a key part of the fabric design change in this building, has meant that the environmental controls have been noticeably more even, noticed by the rehoming centre staff here. And so at the moment there's been very little need or demand for in the autumn months for the underfloor heating system to be called upon.